Today, we're checking out this rear bumper in chrome for the 1999 to 2006 Silverado 1500 fleet side. If your factory bumper is rusty, dented, or it just needs a replacement option, then this is a direct replacement OE style bumper, and it gives you a fresh, clean rear end with stock quality at a very affordable price point, so it is definitely worth checking out. This bumper is going to mirror that stock design, and some of the great features are the full width step pad across the entire bumper and this heavy duty steel quality build. This is going to be perfect if you're restoring a truck or you just happen to get in an accident and you need a new rear bumper. The chrome finish adds a clean shine that freshens the look of the truck. This is a vehicle specific fit, so those mounting points are going to be correct and the install is going to be made simple. And if you stick with me, we're going to show you that install just here in a minute. When it comes to the construction on this is built from very heavy gauge steel, giving it the strength you need for everyday use, towing and hauling, and even stepping in and out of the bed with ease. The chrome plating resists rust and corrosion better than the worn factory one, so this is a ready to last you the entire life of the truck. Now, as far as the pricing goes on this, it is coming in right around that $200 price range. That is a solid value when you consider you're getting a full steel bumper, direct fit to your truck with the step pads already included, and it's ready to go on right away. Now, speaking of going on right away, when it comes to the install on this one, it's going to get rated just a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can get this job done in 1 hour of your time. Now let's see exactly how this process works with a quick video from one of our American Trucks customers.
So for this installation, we used a small flathead screwdriver, a socket extension, and then a short one just to get those hard to reach places, a 21mm socket, an 18, a 16, a 15 depending on if your bolts have corrosion or not, and a deep well 18 to get onto those nuts. Here I've got a 1/2 inch ratchet wrench and a 1/2 inch ratchet non-ratcheting breaker bar. Today we're going to be replacing the rear bumper on a 99 to 2006 Chevy Silverado 1500. Now, starting the removal of the stock bumper, I am going to start by undoing any of the electrical clips and getting the wires loose. So it's just starting with the easiest here. I got one that just is a little pop off. I will be using this small little tiny flathead screwdriver, and using this flathead screwdriver I'm just gonna slide it in there and give it a little twist, and that should loosen up just like that. So then removing this female end of the connector, there's just a little squeeze right here on this part of the tab, and it just should just pop off. It might take a little wiggle. And these electrical connectors here that hold the actual light in should just be a little slight turn counterclockwise. I had to put a little oomph into that one. Looks like that puppy was burned out. And then repeating the same process here, a slight turn counterclockwise. Now with all that done, it should be free and easy to remove. Now I'm going to move on to disconnecting the rod that goes to lower the spare tire. Mine's a little stuck and rusty, so I'm just going to hit it here with a little penetrating oil. Give that a wipe because I don't want that all over my keys. Quarter turn clockwise, should pull right out. Now this part here should be just a hollow tube that acts as a guide for the rod that you use to lower the spare tire. Now in a normal case you would have lowered that, removed your spare tire to get access to this. I obviously don't have one. But it's just a few small plastic clip teeth on there that hold that in. So, and I'm going to leave the Most of it's still attached to the bumper at this time, but I can give that a little turn in a downward direction and slide the remainder of that tube out. And once you've gotten that disconnected from the reel for your spare tire, I'm giving a little downward twist just to be able to remove the rest of the hollow tube. And I'm going to leave that part attached for now. We can swap that over when we're ready to put in the new one. Now moving on to the actual nuts and bolts of the rear bumper. I'm going to start on the driver's side. There's two here, located near the leaf spring shackles. Using an 18 millimeter socket here. Just going to pop that on and we're going to give it and you can use the hand ratchet, or if you have an air ratchet or a cordless battery powered one, all the more power to you. And knowing that I was going to have an excessive amount of rust, I went ahead and sprayed a little penetrating oil on all these nuts and bolts earlier in the day and let it just have some time to do its magic. You know, if you're under your own vehicle and you got a lot of rust, just be aware of your eyes. If you're banging around, things are going to fall. Now I've just got a very short little extension on there just to give me a little extra room to get in there and give it some turns. And so on the back side of that there, both of those came out as that. Now in the packaging of nuts and bolts that they send, you will not find that same type of hardware. So we're going to replace that with something similar. And then moving over to the center of the vehicle again, looking at the driver's side, you can see, I'll move this wire, those two holes there is where we took that funny little double bolt thing out. That then still has a couple bolts back here, and I'm just going to loosen those up just to make it a little easier to get it out of here. You may not have to do that, but I'm going to do it just in case. Using that same 18 millimeter socket, this time I now have a slightly longer extension, nothing crazy. It's a very tight squeeze to get back in there. So this one might be a bit of a trick for you. I'm gonna have to switch back to a slightly shorter one, extension. Now I do have a cordless battery powered socket wrench. But personally, I'm not going to use it on this. I just don't want to cause any unnecessary extra stress on anything. Personal choice, you know, do what works best for you. Just my thoughts on that. Okay, now I am on the passenger side, doing those same two nuts as we did on the driver's side. Again with the 18 millimeter and a short extension on the ratchet here. Here at the center of the vehicle, just where the hitch receiver attaches to the rear bumper, there are these two bolts here. These are a size 21 millimeter. You know, should fit on there pretty well. Those are quite hefty bolts, I'll tell you what. Okay, now there's this bolt here, which is bolted into the main structural framework for the hitch receiver, and what looks like the framework of the truck. 21 millimeter socket again. I would call a medium length extension here just for clearance. Now those are pretty tight, so I'm going to spray those with a penetrating oil. Here on the passenger side, we're going to be removing the same bolt that we did on the driver's side. Again, using a medium length extension with the 21 millimeter socket on a 24-inch breaker bar here. Now that I've got that loose, I'm going to switch it back over to the regular ratchet wrench. Okay, with the 16 millimeter socket, I'm going to remove this bolt here on the driver's side, and then we'll move over to the passenger side. Now this one does feel a little wobbly in the socket, so you might use a 15. I've got a lot of corrosion here, so I'm just making do with the 16. Let's see how that 15 fits on there now. So I'm going to give this 15 millimeter a shot here, and that feels a little better. All right, this same top bolt up here, this one right up here. Now this one has, same as the other side, it's got a nut on the back side of it. This nut is spinning, so I'm going to have to put another socket, size 18 millimeter, on the bolt on the back side here, just to help me out a little. Now you probably won't have the same view that I have. These two bolts here are bracketed onto the bumper. We just should be holding this bracket on, which we're going to remove. All right, so on that bracket that we were looking at, we've got two bolts here. They are an 18 millimeter size socket. On the back side of there, they have a nut, which is also an 18 millimeter. So I've had to just kind of hang another deep well 18 millimeter socket on the back side of that to catch those nuts with the breaker bar. I'm going to put the socket on this side, and we're going to remove those. Now I get to cheat a little because I got those holes in my bumper, but had a washer on it. Looks like the washer broke off. Now removing the bolt above the one that we just did. Again with the 18 millimeter sockets on both the nut and bolt. And I can go ahead and pull that bracket out sideways, going towards the center of the vehicle. Again, removing these two bolts here. All right, now removing that bracket, removing the bolts, remove that bracket again. You'll be able to just lift it up, slide it out. All right, so for removing that plastic piece, inside of this ring is a series of small teeth. So I'm using that small flathead screwdriver and just kind of gently prying back on the teeth, applying some pressure downward on this plastic, just enough to get it to kind of pop through and go past those teeth. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these brackets first. Now that nut there is welded on, it doesn't leave much room for movement. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. We're just going to slide that in there and get them lined up real quick. Easy peasy, nothing in the way. Make sure you do this first or you're going to struggle for a while. So I'm going to use these G88 with the supplied nut, and I think I'm going to put we're going to put the bolt on the inside with the nut going towards the outside. Now I'm just getting these all hand tight so that I can make adjustments for the rest of the bolts going in, and then I'm going to take the XZ88, the larger one, and I've got a washer on there. I'm just going to slide that up from the bottom. Alright, same thing for the other side. Starting with the smaller XZ 8.8. Okay, once you've got that first bolt in, I'm going to go ahead and slot and put in the larger XZ 8.8 into the bottom here. Now don't jump the gun, don't get ahead of yourself. The other two bolts that go on the side are also going to bolt through to the other brackets on the bumper. Make sure you start with the smaller XZ88, which is going to go through this hole here. And then go to the larger XZ88 going through the bottom. You don't go too tight with any of these to begin with, because you're going to need a little room to wiggle it around and get your holes lined up. Now those two bolts that go on the side here, those are going to attach to the other two brackets that are on the bumper. So we're gonna wait on that. Now that I've got the first two brackets on, I'm gonna grab the bumper here. All right, so now I'm gonna take this G 8.8. Got my holes lined up. And you see that pops through there and attaches on both sides of the bracket. I'm putting the bolt from the inside going out, so the nut is on the outside of the vehicle, towards the outside of the vehicle. I'm not going to go too tight yet. Just want to leave room for adjustments and room to wiggle on the other side. But while we're on that side, on this side, we can put the bolts through the holes that attach the bumper to the first bracket that we put on. Again, I'm doing the same thing, putting the bolt from the inside out with the nut on towards the outside of the vehicle. And I do these last because this side of the bracket was slotted. Those holes were slotted, so that left plenty of room to get those holes lined up real easy. And again, it's just hand tight. We'll want to adjust for proper fitment later on. Okay, for this side, same as the other. You've got the G 8.8s with the nuts provided. Now we're gonna get it moved around and find the right fitment for it, and then we will do the last two bolts that attach to the receiver. All right, now I've got it in as far as I can get it. This was not too much of a gap anywhere, and we're gonna use the XZ 8.8s again. Go right up there underneath. All right, and going back and tightening those bolts. 2 of the 18mm sockets. We're going to make sure we just got all our bolts tight here using the 21mm. This big one here on the bottom. Okay, 16mm here way up in top. Yep, and the 18mm on all these other ones. Getting tight. All right, and then we'll go over to the other side and do the same. All right, just gonna go ahead, check everything, make sure it's all tight here. And using the 21mm again, gonna just make sure we got this one tightened up. And the 16mm on the side over here. We're making sure we got that one up there tight. Okay, and then there's this metal piece here with those teeth on it that we're gonna want to switch over. So there's four little prongs here. It's like 6 of them. And I'm just gonna gently, if I can, okay, so it looks like I've got 2 pieces here. Got an outer ring and then a center ring that locks in there in a fashion like that. So with this ring here, some of them have a little bit of a curl, some of them are flat. I'm just gonna get these 2 here on this flat edge and just work it around. And those 2 ends of that ring should overlap a little on the back side there. And this ring, we're going to insert that way on the back side. And that should just snap into place. And then taking that piece we had before, just gonna slide it in there like that. And I might have to push that ring onto it from the back side. I'm taking a flat screwdriver here. Just gonna push that metal ring on there. All right, now we got that plastic tube. Just gonna slide that back in there. Slide that back in and then pop that into place. And we'll get the wires installed. Okay, taking that electrical, plug that back in. Make sure we get everything all the way back up. You put in your plug, your light bulbs, and quarter turn back in.
All right, well that wraps up our review and install of the rear bumper in chrome for the 1999 to 2006 Silverado 1500 fleet side. And for all things Silverado, keep it right here at American Trucks.